Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. In this video, we're going to be discussing Harry Potter's arch-nemesis and the son of Lucius Malfoy, Draco Malfoy. Draco Malfoy was a British pureblood wizard born in the year 1980, the son of Narcissa Malfoy and Death Eater Lucius Malfoy. Draco started at Hogwarts in the same year as Harry, Ron, Hermione, and many of the other characters that we're so familiar with. Right from the beginning, Draco exhibits questionable behaviour. He's the archetypal bully, and when he first meets Harry in the film, he extends his hand out to him, but not before taking an easy shot at Ron Weasley, who Harry had also just met. "Think my name's funny, do you? No need to ask yours. Red hair and a hand-me-down robe. You must be a Weasley." Harry, having already befriended Ron, is not a fan of Draco's attitude, and when he rejects his handshake, it sparks the catalyst that would result in years of animosity between the two. J.K. Rowling describes Draco's character as follows. Everybody recognizes Draco because everybody has known somebody like him. Such people's belief in their own superiority can be infuriating, laughable, or intimidating, depending on the circumstances in which one meets them. Draco succeeds in provoking all of these feelings in Harry, Ron, and Hermione at one time or another. So, right off the bat, we sort of get a sense of the type of character that Draco Malfoy is going to be. The only reason that he's interested in befriending Harry is because of his fame, and Draco, having been raised in a pure-blood family that places an exceptional amount of value on status, leaps at the opportunity to associate himself with Harry. After the sorting ceremony, Draco is placed into Slytherin House, and Harry is placed into Gryffindor. This is basically the beginning of the rivalry between Draco and Harry. Throughout the books and films, Draco is a constant nuisance towards the trio, and as he grows older, his behaviour turns from annoying but still childlike and playful, to rather sinister. Draco, a pure-blood supremacist and die-hard Slytherin, jumped at any opportunity to embarrass or insult students in any of the other houses. Here's another one of Draco's charming lines addressed towards Gryffindor students. "You know how I think they choose people for the Gryffindor team? It's people they feel sorry for. See, there's Potter, who's got no parents. Then there's the Weasleys, who've got no money. You should be on the team, Longbottom. You've got no brains." But while Draco was always troublesome, condescending, and just rough to be around in general, I think that it would be fair to say that his behaviour is largely a product of his upbringing. I don't think that Draco is necessarily an inherently bad person. He was just raised by a couple of pure-blood supremacists, and one of them is a Death Eater. How would you expect him to turn out? The very atmosphere that Draco was raised in was poisonous. His father, having followed Lord Voldemort in the First Wizarding War, only avoided imprisonment by claiming that he was under the Imperious Curse for the duration of the war. This, however, was not the case, and Lucius lived in constant regret, having been unsuccessful, along with the other Death Eaters, in bringing Lord Voldemort to power. Image was important to the Malfoys, and having to claim that you were placed under the Imperious Curse, even if to avoid imprisonment, makes you look weak. This weakness ended up being personified in the form of even more hatred towards Muggleborns, half-bloods, half-breeds, and blood traitors. Draco, who was highly influenced by his father, adopted this same attitude, and this formed the person that we saw at Hogwarts, an attitude that was the product of his father's failure and extreme prejudice. As Draco grew older, we witnessed firsthand his evolution from petulant but innocent little boy to sinister and dark young man. What really set him off was the imprisonment of his father after the Battle of the Department of Mysteries, a battle that effectively served as the catalyst and first major conflict of the Second Wizarding War. After Voldemort lures Harry to the Department of Mysteries in an attempt to steal the fabled prophecy, Harry comes face to face with Lucius, who, up until that point, had been able to somewhat save face within the wizarding community. "Oh, you don't know Potter as I do, Bellatrix. He has a great weakness for heroics. The Dark Lord understands this about him. Now give me the prophecy, Potter. I know Sirius is here. I know you've got him. It's time you learned the difference between life and dreams, Potter. Now give me the prophecy, or we start using wands." Because Draco's father was seen participating in the battle as a Death Eater, he was sent to Azkaban for his crimes. Draco was very upset by this, and knowing that Harry was involved, swore that he would get retribution. Where the pair would previously get back at each other in the form of harmless pranks or jinxes, this was the beginning of a new, deeper, darker relationship between the two boys. Harry, having been attacked by Draco's father, resented the Malfoys, and Draco, who felt that Harry was responsible for his father's imprisonment, resented Harry. In year 6, Draco had officially joined the Death Eaters, replacing his father, for the time being, in their ranks. It was during this year that we see Draco in his most sinister, skulking form, having been given a special mission by Voldemort: kill Dumbledore. Draco kept a relatively low profile after joining the ranks of the Death Eaters, but couldn't help but brag about being given a special mission to his fellow Slytherin students. On the train to Hogwarts, Harry overheard parts of the conversation, and Draco, who became aware of Harry's presence after the train stopped, used a full-body bind curse to paralyze Harry. "Didn't Mummy ever tell you it was rude to eavesdrop, Potter? Petrificus totalis!" Just before brutally stomping on Harry's face and crushing his nose as revenge for his father's imprisonment, he says the following to Harry: "Oh yeah, she was dead before you could wipe the drool off your chin." This really symbolized the path that Draco had chosen at this point, intent on fulfilling the Dark Lord's bidding and avenging his father. What were once harmless quips had become horrible remarks about Harry's dead mother. Over the course of the same school year, Draco appears to be more distraught than ever, completely terrified of failing the Dark Lord's mission and embarrassing his father. What's interesting about Draco's mission, however, is that it has been implied that Voldemort always expected Draco to fail. Assigning this mission to Draco was Voldemort's way of punishing Lucius for his failure at the Department of Mysteries. Draco was barely present for classes during this school year, stopped attending Quidditch practice, and did not fulfill any of his duties as a prefect, the same duties that he would previously enjoy. It was obvious that the pressure was affecting him. As the story progresses, we see Draco become more and more involved with the Death Eaters, but despite talking the talk, it appeared that Draco was almost always hesitant in performing the duties of the Death Eaters when push came to shove. When the trio were caught by snatchers and Draco was called upon to identify them, he was very hesitant in doing so. This is just one of the indicators that Draco didn't actually want to be a Death Eater. He just wanted to make his parents proud. He didn't want the people that he went to school with for years to die. He just wanted to live up to the family name, even if it wasn't truly him. By the end of the books and films, while it is not explicitly stated or shown, it's rather clear that Draco is remorseful for his actions, and that he was really just the pawn of his father. He was a misguided young boy that just never knew any different, and I think that Harry, among others, were able to recognize this towards the end. It's really quite sad, actually, as without his father's looming presence, he could have perhaps had a more normal childhood. But you may be wondering, what happened to Draco after the Battle of Hogwarts? As he grew even older, what sort of person did he become? J.K. Rowling, after the films ended, expressed that Draco had been sobered by his experiences as a Death Eater, and in a 2014 entry on Pottermore, says the following with regards to Draco's character. The biggest revelation was that he became less of a pureblood fanatic. The events of Draco's late teens forever changed his life. He had had the beliefs with which he had grown up challenged in the most frightening way. He had experienced terror and despair, seen his parents suffer for their allegiance, and had witnessed the crumbling of all that his family had believed in. People whom Draco had been raised, or else had learned, to hate, such as Dumbledore, had offered him help and kindness, and Harry Potter had given him his life. After the events of the Second Wizarding War, Lucius found his son as affectionate as ever, but refusing to follow the same old, pure bloodline. Draco married the younger sister of a fellow Slytherin, Astoria Greengrass, who had gone through a similar, though less violent and frightening, conversion from pureblood ideals to a more tolerant life view, was felt by Narcissa and Lucius to be something of a disappointment as a daughter-in-law. They had had high hopes of a girl whose family featured on the Sacred 28, but as Astoria refused to raise their grandson Scorpius in the belief that muggles were scum, family gatherings were often fraught with tension. Also, he seemingly mellowed out a bit, leading a life of leisure instead of working to overturn the forces of light or establish dominion over muggles, like Lucius did. I imagine that Draco grew up to lead a modified version of his father's existence. Independently wealthy, without any need to work, Draco inhabits Malfoy Manor with his wife and son. I see in his hobbies further confirmation of his dual nature. The collection of dark artifacts harks back to family history, even though he keeps them in glass cases and does not use them. However, his strange interest in alchemical manuscripts, from which he never attempts to make a philosopher's stone, hints at a wish for something other than wealth, perhaps even the wish to be a better man. I have high hopes that he will raise Scorpius to be a much kinder and more tolerant Malfoy than he was in his own youth. While Draco's character is ultimately one of dubious morality, I like to imagine that over the years, he truly did become a good, sound man. In Rowling's own words, there is, after all, some unextinguished good at the heart of Draco. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please let me know down in the comment section below. Until next time, remember, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live